Coming up on this edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports, Haason Reddick updates. Not looking great up in New York. We'll talk about the rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Willaims and Jayden Daniels. Some veteran quarterbacks who did not look good in week one that raised more concerns than other teams maybe. And some injury news across the NFL. But first, did your team win in week one? Half of you, in theory, half of you say yes, half of you say no, but maybe only the happy fans are watching today's show. So, did your team win in week one? Y for yes, N for no. Let's talk the latest here on Haason Reddick. He is still, as of filming, holding out from the New York Jets, and big question marks as to when that's going to end. He's foregoing almost $80K per week in game checks, and about $5 million in fines that he has to pay and has forfeited because he hasn't shown up to the Jets organization. Meanwhile, the Jets miss him on the field, or at least miss what he was supposed to be since he was never technically there in the end. Some pressure stats from New York against the 49ers, all per NFL's next-gen stats. Upgraded. I like the new version's really good. A lot of good info in there. 32 dropbacks, pressured 12 times. Not that bad. However, just one sack and one quarterback hit. And what is most telling to me about this particular metric is where those pressures came from. 3 of them came from Javon Kinlaw, the former Niner now playing DT for the Jets. 2 of them came for Quinnen Williams. 1 came from C.J. Mosley, 1 from Solomon Thomas, who's more of a kind of hybrid player, but we'll put him at DT. Sauce Gardner got one on a blitz. Tony Adams got one on a blitz. 6 from their edges. Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, who thought actually played pretty well, and Will McDonald IV combined for 6 of the team's 12 pressures on those dropbacks. For a Jets team that would like to win with 4 more often than not, that doesn't want to necessarily be a big blitzing team, for a team that let Bryce Huff walk to bring in Haason Reddick and replace the pass rush that way, they really miss him. Like I think that here's the tricky bit. Like, adding Haason Reddick back to this team is what they are searching for. Like, that is the pass rusher who is at one of 2 players with 11 plus sacks in 4 straight years running Myles Garrett. The problem with this Haason Reddick issue, I don't know what the solution is here. If you're the Jets, you can't really pay him. And if you're Reddick, you're kind of pretty well entrenched in not showing up. I don't know what, like, the fair solution is for all parties involved. There's, at some point, somebody's got to blink. It kind of can't be the Jets, and Reddick's pretty well entrenched. So it's kind of a weird situation there. I think in the end, at some point, Reddick shows up. Maybe it is this week. Maybe he makes his point in week 1 and shows up for week 2. What week do you think Reddick ends up reporting to the Jets? And none is an option, too, if you want to go down that path as well. But let me know in the comment section of today's show, what week do you think Haason Reddick shows up to the Jets? Next up, the rookie quarterbacks who played didn't have their best stuff in week 1, which isn't necessarily a huge surprise. Passing offenses around the NFL were down, and these are young QBs who face some tough defenses. Jayden Daniels and the Commanders got Todd Bowles in the Bucs defense. That's not easy. The end results were better for Daniels. They kind of got some success late in the game, some garbage time stuff. He ran the ball well. There's still times the middle of the field got to be better. He's got to be more decisive, more active, make those decisions quickly. 2 sacks, 2 fumbles. They did get both of them back. Is something to monitor there. Week 1, it's a loss. You probably weren't going to win anyway, but there's some progress there. Some positivity. I thought of the rookie QBs, probably had the best game. Not exactly a very high bar. Bo Nix, 3.3 yards per attempt ain't it. That's not going to be good enough. 2 sacks, had a rushing touchdown, 2 interceptions, 26 of 42 for 138 yards. Again, you're playing the Mike McDonald defense. That's a tough one. He did a lot of fun stuff there with the Ravens, but that's not good enough out of Bo Nix. He will look much better in the preseason. Different animal once the real games begin. Then Caleb Williams. Denard Wilson comes from that Ravens tree, so again, there's some confusing stuff on defense there. 14 of 29 for 93 passing yards. 2 sacks, kept the fumble he lost. 3.2 yards per attempt. Gotta be better across the board. I think you get those week one jitters out of the ways. They'll probably be better as the year goes on, but a lot of growth needed out of Caleb Williams as the Bears and company before. Same with Bo Nix and Jayden Daniels too. Now, today's show is made possible by Game Time. They have a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out all the fluff to only show you the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets for football, comedy, concerts, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. You find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app today, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Let's stick with our quarterback conversation, brief and not nearly as in-depth as the full-on film studies that we need to prep for, but we're not going to show the All-22 because we don't want to get in trouble. Let's talk Kirk Cousins. I have concerns. I think many of you might, coming out of week one. 16 of 26, 155 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.0 yards per attempt. Kirk Cousins at his best. Under center, play action. He thrives under it. So guess what the Falcons did in week one? Ton of pistol. And that concerns me, not because it's pistol, yay, that's fine. What worries me the most here is I don't know if that is because they want to maximize the pistol sets for Kirk Cousins or if they don't trust him to move coming off the Achilles. He didn't move much at all. And I am worried that is going to be a issue for Atlanta long term. If that offense doesn't get more explosive with all those playmakers, at some point, we're going to have the Michael Penix conversation about him starting. Meanwhile, over to the New York Football, not good at passing Giants, Daniel Jones. It was just bad. There's no way around it. 22 of 42 for 186 yards in an offense that was just so dialed back, trying to make life easy on him. He had 5 sacks in this game. It's not all the offensive line's fault. He just doesn't feel pressure well. By the way, he's got more pick sixes to the opposing team than touchdowns to his own team the past 2 years. Now, he missed a bunch of games, but still, he's not good. And frankly, he's actually never been good. There was one season where the Giants won a bunch of games despite him, or he didn't cost them too much. They got him paid $40 million. It's been a massive mistake. Deshaun Watson, meanwhile, look, we're going to have the Drew Lock, Daniel Jones conversation. My buddy Marshall Green already wants to have that conversation. At some point, the Browns have to rip the Band-Aid off of the Deshaun Watson mistake. They paid him a ridiculous amount of money, having not played football in a year. I always thought he was not. I thought he was overrated. He wasn't. I don't think he was actually a top 5 QB. He put up a bunch of stats on a bad Texans team. He was terrible against Cowboys. And I know they were down their starting 2 offensive tackles. Watson's got to throw the damn ball. How many times does he drop back and not go to the first read? He didn't see the field. He got confused a bunch. He's always had bad pocket presence. It could have been 8 or 9 if he didn't break a bunch of tackles, which is good for him. At some point, you have to wonder, in terms of winning games right now, if Jameis Winston's a better option, which is a terrifying thought, and they probably won't because of the money involved. But man, he was bad again. He hasn't been good in 4 years. That's how long it's been. So who do you think ends up being the first quarterback benched? One we did not discuss was Gardner Minshew, certainly a valid option there as well. Who do you think is the first quarterback who ends up getting benched this year? Drop that player name for me in the comments. I think Steelers don't count, by the way. They're kind of already doing weird stuff with the injuries and everything. Let's hit injury news here. Rapid fire across the NFL. T. Higgins, hamstring at practice last week. Doubt he can play in week 2. We'll see if he does or doesn't, but there is doubt there. Higgins is basically the super expensive sports car. Like, when you can drive it, it's awesome. It is constantly broken down somehow. And the durability is a massive red flag for him. Christian McCaffrey, with what Kyle Shanahan is now calling Achilles tendonitis, which sends off red flags galore there. His calf injury is lingering. Status for week 2 is unknown. Go add Jordan Mason with your waiver wire and your fab budgets, whatever. That certainly makes sense. Puka Nacua, meanwhile, who was banged up so much of training camp, he's going to go on IR. Missed at least 4 games with a sprained PCL. Cooper Kupp got force-fed targets. That's going to happen again. The Rams in general are insanely decimated by injuries. They have lost so many parts of the offense up front on the offensive line. Nacua, some defensive banged-up players. I actually feel bad for the Rams. That's kind of how you have a sunk season when it's not your fault that all your guys got hurt. For more NFL news, rumors, injury updates, and everything else in between, hit that sub button, youtube.com/chatsportstv for more NFL updates. Let's talk tight ends here. Jake Ferguson, a sprained MCL and a bone bruise, but he has not been ruled out yet for week 2. I would be surprised if he played. I would frankly call that a mistake by the Cowboys if they played him. It's week 2. Don't make a potential sprain into a full-on tear by having him play through it. Well, it's the Cowboys. They lie about injuries a lot. They might just be trying to play coy against the Saints. David Njoku, high ankle sprain. They signed Jeff Swain to the practice squad. I kind of thought Fox did a bad job on the highlight. They showcased that the hit that was high and not the part that got injured, which was low. Like, he limped off the field, and they showcased the defender squeezing him up high. Like, that didn't really make any sense to me. But he's going to miss time. And maybe the most devastating injury news of the day. Adding injury to the insult that was week 1, Derek Brown is out for the season per the Panthers team website with a meniscus injury. He was by far, sorry JC Horn, their best defensive player, and now you're not going to have him for the season. Panthers are in a really rough spot after week 1. And then the one that happened on Friday, Jordan Love. Still some murkiness about the injury. He's not going to play this week. I'd be shocked if he did. Sounds like 3 to 6 weeks with a sprained MCL very late in that game against Philadelphia. Packers aren't going to put him on IR. Maybe it's a short-term absence, but it's going to be Malik Willis in Green Bay. By the way, week 2 is Packers and Malik Willis, who just doesn't throw the football when it's available. Like, I'm going to ramble and rant. Malik Willis taking a sack on the Hail Mary is the most Malik Willis play ever. You just have to throw the football. And he doesn't trigger fast enough. He does it all the time. Anytime there's a deep dig, sees it, doesn't throw it. That is who Malik Willis is as a football player. It was very on brand for him. It's also against the Colts defense, which lost one of their best players, Juju Brents, by the way, to injury. He's out for the year. It's a bad secondary. It's a stoppable force against a movable object. Can't wait to see who wins in week 1.